Welcome to part 5 of our exploration of the history of punk rock. In this section, we'll take a deep dive into the roots of punk rock and explore the cultural and musical factors that led to its emergence in the mid-1970s. Punk rock was a reaction against the dominant musical trends of the era, which were characterized by long, complex compositions and virtuosic performances. Instead, punk rock was raw, fast, and aggressive, with simple chord progressions and lyrics that dealt with social and political issues. The roots of punk rock can be traced back to the mid-1960s, with the emergence of garage rock bands like the Sonics, the Seeds, and the Count Five. These bands played stripped-down rock and roll that was more focused on energy and attitude than on technical proficiency. Another important influence on punk rock was the music of the Stooges, a band from Michigan that formed in 1967. The Stooges' music was raw and confrontational, with heavy guitar riffs and lyrics that dealt with themes of alienation and disillusionment. The New York Dolls were another important influence on the punk rock sound. The Dolls formed in New York City in 1970, won and played a glam-inspired style of rock and roll that was characterized by androgynous fashion, provocative lyrics, and high-energy performances. The cultural and political climate of the era was also a crucial factor in the emergence of punk rock. In the mid-1970s, the Western world was facing a number of social and political challenges, including economic stagnation, rising crime rates, and political unrest. In Britain, this sense of social dislocation was particularly acute. The country was in the midst of an economic crisis, with high inflation, rising unemployment, and widespread industrial unrest. This created a sense of disillusionment and frustration among young people who felt that the established institutions of society had failed them. In this context, punk rock emerged as a voice of dissent and rebellion. The punk rock scene was characterized by a die ethos, with bands recording and distributing their own music and organizing their own gigs. This gave the punk rock movement a sense of independence and authenticity that was lacking in the mainstream music industry. In addition to its musical innovations, punk rock was also notable for its fashion and aesthetic. Punk rockers often wore ripped clothing, leather jackets, and safety pins as a way of signaling their outsider status. The punk rock scene also gave rise to a number of iconic hairstyles, including the mohawk and the spiky punk cut. Overall, the roots of punk rock were complex and multifaceted, with a range of cultural and musical influences shaping its emergence in the mid-1970s. From the garage rock of the Sonics to the confrontational lyrics of the Stooges and the glam-inspired fashion of the New York Dolls, punk rock was a genre that drew on a range of disparate influences to create something entirely new and groundbreaking. And as we'll explore in the coming sections, punk rock was just getting started.